Hey, everybody out there listening to Komodo. We've got the Q1 marketing report and this conversation about results and achievements and kind of what's been going on here within the marketing department going on today. Welcoming everybody to the live stream and everybody that catches this as a recording afterwards on our YouTube. Welcoming you to Komodo as well. So in our live stream conversation today, we have Otto, who is the CMO of Komodo Marketing. We have Delton. Actually, Otto, if you would just want to say hi for a second. So,
yeah, hello.
So that's the voice of Otto, the CMO here. We've got Delton, who is the content writer here, the director of content, really.
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Yeah, it's Delton. Yes, and he's got a Twitter handle at the Delton, I think, where you can catch up on like latest content and stuff like that. So be sure to follow him there. We've got myself, Jay Charming, also affectionately known as JC or Jay, and I do operations work with Komodo, working very close in tandem with the marketing department right under Otto, which is great. It's been a real trip being here since the last quarter of last year. And we've got VK, who is the Twitter social media manager for Komodo, who has been, when you've been following the Komodo official handles for Komodo Platform and Atomic Decks, all that great content that you're seeing come out, that's all VK. VK, you want to say hi?
Yeah, I'm more like a social media monkey, like gift-fed bananas.
Me guys are growth hacker. Lot of ideas and recommendations.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. So all we're doing today is we're having a conversation about the results and achievements for the Q1 of Komodo Marketing Department and kind of what's been going on here, because Komodo has, for a lengthy amount of time, been plagued by not pursuing a lot of lofty marketing goals and not being able to do that. And that's one of the things that Otto came in to correct at the from the community at the end of the year last year during Q4 of 2020. So we're going to start today's conversation with each of the team members that are here, giving 2 minutes over what's been dubbed the team reflections. We all have a little something that we've kind of taken away between the start of this year and the end of the first quarter. And we're all going to get a little bit of a chance to share that. After that, we'll go ahead and get into kind of a group discussion over the achievements and the comments and ideas that we have spinning around, and kind of where things are getting oriented versus like where we thought they would be oriented to start, and how we're pivoting to change that, and like what kind of our wins and takeaways are, and what we're starting to double down on and go after versus what we're starting to move away from, so that we can be sure to use our time effectively. And then we'll just do a quick close, and this should all take about 20 or 30 minutes. So what I want to do is we'll start with we'll go Otto, Delton, myself, and then VK, who, if you're in our Discord channels, is the baseline test. And we're all just going to share about 2 minutes and kind of like hand off the mic to each other to get these team reflections out there, so that we can kind of share them with everybody out here in the community, what we've got going on. Otto, do you want to lead the way? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. And also, but mention the report we have prepared, so we only review part of it today. So there's a whole other part to discover once we release the entire thing in this coming weekend.
Oh, right.
So be sure to subscribe to the newsletter, and we will send it to you. Also, just follow like social media like Twitter, and VK will tweet it to you, and all that, just come to our Discord and you will find it.
Yeah, I think we're building up a whole landing page for it, right? Like we're giving it kind of its own stage.
Yeah, originally, like what usually happens in our marketing team is that we make something and then we expand on it. So we were supposed to release this 2 or 3 weeks ago as kind of minimal, let's just share the statistics from Q1. But then we had this idea that we need to become more focused on the latest tools and be on the web, like how to use a code to build a report. So it's not just a PDF that's like old school. So we want to be on the modern social media age, have something on the website instead. So then we decided to do that. And at the same time, like, okay, so why don't we kind of expand on this? So there's a bit more thought on where do we see we are in Komodo marketing and what has been our thoughts and strategy for the year and what we are going for. So it's greatly expanded to all directions, and that's why it's happening now.
Nice. Yeah, so we'll send that landing page out this weekend for everybody to get to see and scroll through and pick after and yeah. So what about your team reflection, Otto? What kind of reflections in, like, roughly around 2 minutes or less do you feel like you got out of the Q1 and the Komodo marketing and where we're headed? Is it?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
So kind of like you were referencing, we had like lately last year, I think around September, that's when we kind of got together, I guess also some of the team, like what kind of changes do we need to make in marketing and our approach, like to get on the right track or improve. And one of the things we adopted was sprint structure. So we are trying to be more agile. And I would say another thing that I talk about here in this post is the putting the community at the center of it. That was the whole idea like last year. That like how do we, like, if you make a big change to them, what is it like? How do we I don't know, inspire ourselves and scale up in the marketing with limited funding, or not funding, but I mean limited budget, as we don't want to just throw away money. Like, we are a long-term project. We have been here for how many years now? Since 2015 or 14, basically, when we got started in 2016 when Komodo launched. So we want our own funds to go for long, not just this year, next year, but like years and years from now. So we don't spend too much money, and we are always very, very careful about that. So we need to make something in marketing that doesn't require to spend hundreds of thousands in advertising and promotion and paying all the influencers and paying for everything, and to operating kind of lean in a small marketing team. So then the thing is that let's turn to a community. Let's figure out a way to get everyone involved, and at the same time we're looking to empower the individuals. This is a place to learn, to grow. Like so that's kind of what we set ourselves to do late last year, and since then we have been figuring out how to get there. That's been our vision, and we've been doing these marketing sprints where each month we pick few things that we really want to focus on and get done, and then we just get laser focus on that and get these things over with. And this also forces us to think strategically. So meaning that every month, like, we think, okay, so what is the lowest hanging fruit? Like, what do we need to redo next to move the needle forward? And I think this has been one of the biggest, I guess, positive changes that we have made that has brought in some results. So I would say that's basically what I wanted to say in my reflection post here.
I've heard that described as in like personal life development, like what's the single greatest thing you could do for yourself today? And in business, it's like what's the one single greatest thing you could do for your business? And then it's like, do that today. But
yeah, that's why I like when I joined in, I think, September. Komodo wanted to look at the community, and it was a shift from previously enterprise marketing people looking at audiences and segments of audiences, which often meant that they're being treated as kind of like a homogenous group. And then the shift to community really is a shift to looking at like autonomous individuals, autonomous small groups, and understanding how those people can organize. So sometimes what that means in a practical sense is you move away from an enterprise model where, you know, it's a hierarchy and there's a bottleneck because people need to make decisions, to something that's truly more decentralized and bottom up, where people can make their own decisions once Auto and the team have kind of set kind of parameters and pointed the way, right? So you can think about, it's like
Decentralize the
OODA loop.
workspace. Have you
I
heard of OODA loops?
I'm
I've
dropping
never...
the OODA loops on you because
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I completely agree. Like there's not too many people understand that there's big difference between marketing and community building, and those has to be kind of understood separately. They're separate things. Like we need both, and but then yeah, like so in a very short, because I think we have to move on. But in a very short, like community building is more about you build relationship, you make a space where people get to know each other, they become a community, they kind of care about each other, and we work together to do something or create something or try. We have some mission together. Like that's a community, and in community it's more like quality over quantity. Like we don't need 1,000 people. We need, if we have handful dedicated people, that's what we need, and that's what we're going for. And then marketing is more like how do we reach wide audience, like our target market, and we are speaking to them, and and it's more like putting out the marketing messages and the story and so forth. So I believe that.
Yeah, which if you're listening here, like here in our Discord now, like we've got Tyler and Dex, we've got Zoki, Zach, Buttery Gold, Damon Fox, Jack, Nev, Ragnar, the people who are coming back to our Twitter every day as well, the people that are coming to our YouTubes, these, like you're the people, like you, this quality over quantity that Otto's talking about, like we're building stuff, like working this with you, so just know that.
You can just to reiterate what I said, you can break that down into a simple funnel where you're trying to take people who don't know about you and move them towards an end goal where they do know about you. So let's call that, there's 3 simple steps, which is reach, retention, and referrals. And the thing that the order is talking about at the start is the reach part of the funnel is about increasing relevancy, right? We have to be highly relevant to people, which is again when you want to think about individuals and small groups rather than what I think is a mistake, where this enterprise approach of always thinking about people as audiences, you know, and that's actually very aligned to social media, because social media, if you think about it, traditional media, like the Gutenberg printing press, it's a means of distribution that dramatically changed, right? Traditional media is high reach but low value, low relevancy, right? You put an advert out for a BMW car, maybe 0.03% of people buy the car, you make a lot of money, right? But this isn't the game that we're playing. We're playing low reach, high relevancy, which is, there's a guy called Richard Stacy. He wrote a really good book called The 3% Rule, and he has a bunch of stuff about that. So yeah. So, but just to reiterate what I'm saying, reach, retention, referrals. But at the start, what Auto is talking about is high relevancy. That's what's important, and that's why Doge Deck was interesting, right? That was like an experiment. I've seen these guys cook up. I was totally unconvinced. I was like, this is the worst idea I've ever heard.
Man, you were the worst in call. I remember that. You were like, every day you're like, we should not be doing this. This is not right.
Terrible. Like we're not concentrating. What do we do? And then I had to admit I was wrong, because I was like, I realized what they'd actually done was increase the relevancy to a high degree. So like since I started working with Auto and JC and Dowden, like I have learned a lot, and I already thought like I was pretty awesome, but now I'm even more awesome. So
but we need to give the credit about the Doge Decks to P2 Ito.
Oh, Charles,
launched it.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think we need to move on though. We need to give a chance for Delton.
Right. So Delton, for some team reflection time, because you're director of content, you've really been revamping and redoing the entire blog system. And I think like right at the end of the year last year, like the entire website got moved, and that also meant that the blog system went down and had to be like basically reworked from scratch, right?
Right. Yeah, we have an entirely new blog system using GoCMS, and it's been like so many improvements on that system. And I think it's really helped like Komodo build our reputation as a blockchain and crypto educator. I think part of that is also like we've expanded the team as well. Like we have a new freelance writer and we have an SEO specialist. So we've been expanding the content on the blog. We've been expanding the content on the newsletter, kind of optimizing that to make it more engaging. And yeah, and we've definitely seen like an increase in open rates, click-throughs, everything kind of. Um, so that's been exciting.
Yeah,
Also,
didn't
I
you
think another
start?
thing is like we've expanded the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, didn't you kind of like start working with the mail? How was it? Like
MailChimp?
MailChimp, the email system to like to do better content with it. Basically starting at the stress test at the beginning of December, and it's like it's only gotten better for click-through rates and open rates and everything else.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So we have now multiple audiences that go along with the monthly event series that we've been running. So that's been a really big thing. And also we have segments within those audiences. So yeah, just kind of building upon that. Yeah, and we're continuously improving that and optimizing that.
Is there something you're really like looking forward to, like with kind of like the Q1 reflection to pair with that?
Yeah, just like optimizing everything and getting it ready. Yeah, I mean, I also think it's really good that like what we've been doing in Q1, especially, is the video content expansion as well. So with these Thursday town halls and like live stream events like we're doing now, it's a really big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big shout out to G Trang as well, who's always there on the back end. It is never seen. That's he's building the landing page right now for the Q1 marketing report.
Yeah,
And,
shout out
Shout
to
out to
G-Trang.
sharing and the rest of the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, and the rest of the team for sure. We got a lot of like new content ideas coming in now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we also had like a lot of good media coverage as well. So like in January, we onboarded a new PR firm, and it's like we talked about Doge decks, like that got a lot of attention, and that's because we had like a lot of media coverage with that as well. So like Doge decks,
Yeah.
of course, was featured in CoinDesk, Nasdaq, Yahoo Finance, and like several other places. So I mean, yeah, there's the organic content, but also think the media content as well as expanding. So yeah, looking
it's
forward
like
to more of that in Q2.
As a proof of concept, what P2X did was legit amazing. It was
Yeah.
really good.
Gave us so much more content too. Like it just spawned more.
It's leveraging third-party communities. So really, it's instead of linear, it's exponential.
Yeah, I remember when the conversation started, and I remember opening a DM to him, and I was like, okay, like what are you gonna call this? And he's like, what am I gonna call what? Like I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm like this thing, because this is gonna happen more than once when you get it to work. And he's like, I don't know, what should we call it? It's like just like branded dexes, right? And it's like one and then the next and then the next, and it's something we've talked about in Komodo forever, is that this is technology that everybody should be able to build on, replicate, and take advantage of. Like we're building basal technologies here.
So it's having a culture where it's okay to fail. You can pick something up and do it, and you can have one of the team going, "Hey, this is a really bad idea," and still do it, and then it's a success.
Yeah.
But if it hadn't been, it would have been okay. So I think when you have that culture, that's a critical ingredient.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to JC. So what do you want to share with us?
Yeah. So I'll do some 2 minutes of reflection. So when I came in at the end of the year last year at Q4 of 2020, I spent this the first couple of weeks kind of like watching and gathering information, like seeing what worked and what didn't, what the current organizational culture was and what it wasn't. Seeing kind of like what were the pain points for Komodo as an organization. Because there's some things that were just kind of known, like the marketing department was always kind of lukewarm, and it didn't have a lot of like what VK was talking about, the reach referral and retention kind of situation going on.
And oodle hoops.
Yeah, and we
Yeah,
had
you
no
forgot
OODA
OODA
loops.
You need to
And-
explain what a OODA loop is, right? Because
you can. When you get to your reflection, you can do it.
do it.
And then what happened was we did a lot of sandboxing in Q4. We did a lot of like, would this work? Would this not work? Kind of like figuring out team dynamics and stuff like that. And for me, the big reflection and takeaway from Q1 is that I came here to help put in some states of organization. I wanted to see marketing department, I want to see Komodo get ahead, basically, instead of always having to be reactive and behind, or in situations where it has to be reactive to be really successful at it. And some of these structures, I think, just weren't basically in place or weren't available, just from either a knowledge standpoint or from just a lack of warm bodies to kind of like do the work. So the big reflection for me over Q1, if the end of the year last year was sandboxing, was that Q1 was about implementing ideas, seeing what stuck and what didn't, what got traction within the community here and what didn't, what got traction for marketing and what didn't. Trying lots of different things and following up with different things that could get traction, like working with third-party communities, working directly with our own community, trying to find more pipelines there. Working with social media influencers and seeing like what kind of impact that has. And probably the biggest key takeaway for me from Q1 is that I was planning for this process to take the first half of the year. But instead, the community here is very rich and grabbed traction on a lot of ideas right away. Like our community contributor program is really robust just from an onset. The Nakamoto Nights program, like just from an onset, was like got a lot of traction there. We have lots of people here that are ready and willing and want to learn more about Komodo and blockchain and want to do all kinds of stuff and share their knowledge with other people. And as a result, like we're able to move ahead sooner. So things that were kind of planned for the second half of the year to begin exploring, like the developer program. That really wasn't particularly planned for this month. We were just going to do some education pieces. But a bunch of members in our community, Paco, for example, stepped up and kind of took this traction, and as much as we could like support it, they took away to like help set this up. And that's something that we're going to have spinning now at the end of the month instead of like in the second half of the year. So this is kind of like my big takeaway and reflection for what's going on here at Komodo. I see a powerful developer community that has built some amazing tools that's just hasn't really gotten the time, energy, or commitment to be marketed, to be shared, because you can have the best idea ever and it'll just die if it isn't shared. And it's just that marketing is and sharing and having those communications and getting the perception out there is half the battle. And I think that Q1 has kind of set the stage for that. It's set the tone and the precedent that this is what we're like. This is actually something that we're committing to do. It's not just like we're going to do it for a couple months and then we're going to say, okay, screw it. Like we're just going to go back to the old ways. I think this is an era change for Komodo, and Komodo's in for the long haul here. So that's my 2.5 to 3 minutes.
Right. Well, so we then just in the interest of time, just straight move to BK. Who's the last one?
Yeah, tell us about
Yes.
OODA loops. Shit.
I'll tell you about OODA loops. I mean,
Yeah. Are they cool?
they're really cool.
I've never heard of them.
So in these blockchain projects, the innovation happens on the edges, right? That's where there's a lot of really intelligent people that are working in it. The barriers to participation are really low. You just have to want to be involved, and the rewards are really high, right? And I'm not just talking about like ROI, but in experience. One challenge I personally have is that when I go into normal rooms now, I find it with normal people in real life, I find it really unstimulating because of the high quality often I'm the dumbest guy in the room, which is just the best experience, right? So yeah, so what do I mean by OODA loops? With these projects, innovation's rapid, it's happening on the edges. It's very hard to know where to go in and sort of contribute, right? And most people are held back because they don't know where they fit. They don't know what they should start doing first. And so you just have so many people who think there may be hurdles or barriers or obstacles to stopping them getting involved, and there's none. It's so easy. Just get involved and say, hey, I want to do something. You want to write a guide, I want to learn something, and you make that experience of learning part of what you're doing, right? And I can't tell you what to do exactly, but how do you operate in environments of uncertainty, which is what I'm describing to you. And there's an American Air Force general called John Boyd who talked about OODA loops. OODA loop is the decision.
Yes.
Yes, we're here now. This is what everyone's
We're
been
here.
waiting
We've
for.
arrived.
And so what it is if you're an air fighter pilot, you have to make decisions rapidly in an uncertain environment, which is what blockchain is, right? Because technology is moving so fast. So the decision cycle goes like this: observation, orientation, decision, and action, right? And so observation and orientation is what we need to be able to do, help people observe what's going on, whether that's data or insights into the team, or whether that's the community in terms of the opportunities. And then orientation, like how can you do, what do you need to do to get started? This is the sequence, this is where you begin, right? And then we can entrust decisions and actions are going to be better to the team if we're delivering those insights in, or we can trust that the community is going to be able to operate better, because as long as they can observe what's going on and orientate towards the opportunities, then they can make better decisions. So with the community, you can't ever decide who's going to be valuable. You cannot do it. They self-select, right? People self-select their own value, their own worth, and whether or not they're interested and whether they want to commit time and energy to it.
Yeah, we have a whole room of people that have self-selected to be here and listen to this right now.
You are in the church of JC right now, right? The church of
Yeah.
Komodo, I should say, right? So yeah, so the thing is, don't try to convince people to be involved. They'll decide for themselves, right? But if you
Agreed.
give them, if you can prove their observation, you can prove their orientation, then you can trust people to make better decisions and actions. And if you use that as your model, whether that's for yourself, right, or whether that's for like the work that we're doing, then that's what a OODA loop is. So moving rapidly on, because I rarely get a chance to speak, and I'll probably have to stop talking soon. Let me see if I can find my notes. I mean, basically, I have the easiest job. I'm just, when Auto took
Yeah, how's
me
Twitter
on,
been going?
Twitter's been going gangbusters.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, like when we started, I've lost my report. Hang on. When we first started, I think
It's in your Keybase DMs.
I'm referencing it, right? So engagement was relatively low, right? It was under 1%. In the time that we've been doing this, engagement's gone up 904%. This is per quarter. We've had 1,432% more profile visits. We have like 45.9% in the past quarter increase in clicks, right? We have 1,009% more followers per quarter, right? And that's only from doubling the amount of tweets. So just think about that, right? 1,000 more followers, 1,400% increase in profile visits, huge increase in engagement, right? And then what's interesting is you might think, oh, that's because it's a bull market, right? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure because we had a drop of 20.6% in tweet impressions. So less people are seeing our tweets, but more people are responding to them and they're more interested, right? And obviously, like these big numbers are because of the work that Dowd and Auda and JC are doing, right? So when I say my job, and myself, but like my job is easy. I have just to focus on Twitter and don't break anything.
So, hey, that can be really hard to do sometimes. I've broken a few things and I've only been here for a few months.
So key side is that we are not having more people see our tweets, right? There were not more people seeing our tweets. We had about 7.8 million impressions in the previous quarter. It's only 6.2 this time. So in fact, less people are seeing the tweets, but a massively increase in engagement, right? Which means we're more relevant, and I think it's more important to be relevant than it is to reach people. It means we're reaching the right people.
Yeah, that's why we have also these community interest meetings on every Thursday and this ongoing call to action out there to reach out to us and get involved with Komodo, as we need to concur to other social media platforms out there as well and apply VK secret sauce from Twitter to other places and figure out like how could we do the same on like Reddit, and I think we have been doing it on YouTube. At least the statistics
I
are
agree.
true with
Using
all the
these growth hacking models as
content we put.
templates.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm absolutely with you on this.
Should we move on? We are
Yeah.
time. What?
So
We have a whole report to cover, and we are basically viewing we started from the appendix part of it. So
yeah. So the thing is that the team reflections is something that everybody will be able to read when this comes out as a landing page, but it's the one thing that really benefits from having our voice and tone on, and just like being able to share, because it's the human element of this report. It's the thing that like anybody would have to relate to. So with that in mind, and only having a few minutes left, and there being a lot of great information to cover over the actual like data from the Q1 marketing report, which is again going to be coming out as a landing page, which you can get dropped in your DMs if you subscribe to our newsletter here at Komodo, or you can go to our social media channels and it'll be pinned everywhere and you can find it very easily. But with the last minutes, what would be nice if we could just get some conversation over the kind of the plan and the marketing focus in Q2, which is well underway right now. But just this idea of like let's leave everybody with something, and like with kind of what we're looking at right now. And we've got a couple different things here. We've got the tell the story of Komodo. We've got scale up our bandwidth. We've got strengthen our relationship with the community. We've got website and traffic improvements, live streaming and video, and educate and empower. So those are like some of the items that you'll end up seeing on that Q1 report landing page when it comes out this weekend. Would be nice if like let's just talk about it here between like us to share like what's the for the focus for Q2, and maybe Otto, you can kind of lead a little bit of this conversation. We'll all hop in as we hear stuff. What's some of these things that you want to get some voice out on?
yeah, so I'm just browsing through quickly this content here on the stream. Like Jesse was saying, like we are running out of time, so we don't really have time to talk about it. But basically, like we walked through our like what's been our macro thinking for this year. Like we lay on the strategy, and in the strategy there's important part is the analysis, and then we try to do our best to try to summarize the analysis to the report, and still it's quite long considering. And then we talk about the direction then, like, so what is the analysis, where do we come from, what are the roadblocks, then what is the direction, how do we overcome the problems? And as a direction, like this is what we wrote in from a high level based, like the three things I would like to highlight, like let's focus on making Komodo to be, the story of Komodo to be very impactful. And huge part of that is to like visual content and more video content that we have been doing, and events, and but then also we are looking now to expand the website more in the coming weeks and focus on like brochures, bold like pick and bold like copy, like how can we really make more things more concise. That will be one of the major focus for us. And then we want to empower individuals. This is the community side. Like let's build a community. How can we really provide value for our community, get them included, and as they also benefit from being part of the Komodo community. So that is the goal and purpose for us. Then the third one is kind of a value delivery mindset. And I think this is a big one, and P2I did an excellent job of demonstrating just what is the result when you really provide value to someone else. And the same idea is with the community building. Like we are here to provide value to the community. If we cannot provide value, like if the community doesn't provide value, then there's no community at the end of the day. So there has to be some value it's a reason why you join it. And the same is true for any marketing or product or anything we do or anyone does in general. Like, it has to provide value. So it's not enough to just talk about the cool technology. Like, there has to be something that benefits them. And for example, good example is we have AutoMindex wallet. You can store your crypto in it, so it creates wallet to every crypto holder out there. So that's a great vehicle for us to also then build that bridge to Komodo and KMD. All right, but I will stop there. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I had some thoughts about that when we think about what value we want to provide. To the developers and the people building, they're all really technical. They're dealing with the protocol. So that's where a lot of the narratives begin. But actually, people communicate through stories. They don't communicate through information. And JC, I think you were talking about this originally, but we focused on memetics in Q3 and Q4, probably a little bit Q1 as well, right? So the idea is like, people don't have ideas have people, so it's how can you have to be able to explain things simply, and simply is hard, right? Simple isn't easy. So
it's hard to do. We have to understand them simply ourselves. Like, this is a very complicated space. The blockchain sector itself is very emergent. Every topic here is highly complicated, and just getting that communication out, like, to our own audiences that are already invested in crypto is like hard enough, because we have to figure out how to digest and simplify that ourselves. Even talking to the developers, like, here in the space, like, over the years, like, we all know, right? Like, all the developers here, like, they all know, like, what all this technology is. But then when you ask, like, what is it? It's always a lengthy conversation. We haven't found the right ways to communicate this messaging yet. And this is going to be the next most powerful thing to come to crypto as it's seeing mass adoption in the world and it's finally getting notarization, is finding that easy way to say, like, this is what it is. Like, this is the next Gutenberg printing press, but for money. And that's going to, like, revolutionize the way in which our financial system works.
We made you're right, we don't have it yet, but like the thing about the memes on Twitter, if you spend all day on Twitter writing tweets, what you're doing is trying to condense,
which you do an amazing job of,
complex ideas into something small, right? So like, what is Komodo? It's self-sovereignty tools, right? Like, why is a UTXO DEX better than a liquidity pool, right? And that's because you're not relying on a smart contract or a script or a machine with coins connected to the internet the whole time, right? So it's truly peer-to-peer. Like, the Komodo DEX is peer-to-peer. The Uniswap, PancakeSwap, AMM pools you see, and this, you were teaching me, JC, about rug pools. I didn't even know they were, right? So when you communicate,
we're all trying to teach each other the knowledge.
So you're trying to communicate to somebody, like, why do you need a DEX, right? Well, because nobody can freeze your funds, like with Robinhood, right? And nobody can stop your orders, right? Like with Robinhood, and nobody can do a rug pool on you, like with these AMM pools, right? These are really
if people were using
stories.
Atomic DEX instead of a Robinhood, like, that situation would have never happened. Like, that's basically the gist of it. I couldn't agree with you more.
There's another one as well, right? So think about like 3 layers of abstraction. So there's the universe, there's the multiverse, and there's the metaverse, right? So the universe is sex, that's centralized, fiat, legacy, traditional financial systems, right? Then the multiverse, right, is going to be something like Ethereum or whatever, where it's a project, it's a platform, it has lots of projects within it. So it's a multiverse, right? But Komodo is a metaverse because it connects to all of these different multiverses, right? Just think about that, right? The atomic swaps allow for information and value to be traded between different projects. So what does that mean? It means that you're helping small projects flourish. Like, what was DPower, right? DPower protects small chains from being attacked. So we're talking about allowing small person or the small project to be sovereign, and that is what cuts through all of Komodo's technology, right? That's why you're looking at like an atomic swap peer-to-peer based DEX, because it's about sovereignty when you're traveling through that metaverse. Like Komodo's like a Stargate, right? So these are the kind of stories the community wants to play around with. We're just seeding it. We're giving you some ingredients. Hey, we played about it on Twitter when we saw this was a pretty cool way of explaining stuff, right? Universe, multiverse, metaverse. doesn't mean that we've got to, or when JC can have a look at those trees and be like, oh yeah, maybe that did work, right? And then we can build something out from it. But the community has to go out, test those ideas. There's a book called Microscripts, right? Where it's like, it's not what I say, it's what you repeat. Or it's not what I say, it's what you remember, and then it's not what I say, it's what you hear and repeat, right? So it's about word of mouth. So if we come up with ideas on Twitter when we try and tell a story, and then you go out and try and tell that story again and come back and say, hey, Auto, this is what worked for me. That's the value that we're talking about. That's the value the community can bring, is to go out and try and tell that story 100 different ways and come back and say, like, what worked? And the real way to see it is like what happened with Ethereum and Bitcoin is you saw these stories like spread, right? So that's my thoughts about that.
Awesome. And seems like we dropped JC.
He just got tired of my OODA loop. So
Probably.
we're listening to this again. I've had enough.
Yeah, but I do think we have to start wrapping up. It's been a long session already, and I think we could just go on and on. But we are trying to be mindful of the length of the video. So if it's too long, people might not know what is on YouTube. So we're gonna keep it short. But so this document still continues, and we didn't even get to the statistics part of Q1. So there's the Q1 review. Like we did a post-mortem, and we had some thoughts on like what went well, what we weren't very strong about that we as marketing team succeeded, and then how could we improve, and how do we go to the Q2, and now we are actually going to the next sprint right after this week, or like next week we are planning the next one, and we are kind of I don't know where I'm going with that, but well, Dalton, you have any final thoughts here before we end the stream?
No, I think we covered a lot of things. Just looking forward to more cool things happening in Q2. Looking forward to the Komodo Developer Academy release reveal happening next week. Yeah, and that's basically it.
Yeah, another stream next week at the same time. We will talk about Developer Academy and the vision behind it. And that is something that we are working with our community to create. So it's all quite exciting to us. So be sure to also check into that one, like Declan said. And what about VK? You have any closing thoughts?
Shout out to the Chips community. Shout out to all the Node candidates who are running for election. If you haven't voted, then get in there now, because they will desperately want you to vote for them. Shout out PTYX. Shout out JC that's just left because he doesn't hear about OODA loops. And shout out John Boyd who invented them. So yep, thank you. Oh, and shout out JL777 and CA for making all this happen.
Yeah, shout out to the whole Komodo team who's kind of tirelessly working behind the scenes, and there's also so many new team members that are part of Komodo, both in development, few also in marketing now, so we are looking to publish a team page very soon on komodoplatform.com, and we are also looking to do a lot more content about our team as well as about our community. So kind of highlight like who are a lot of people behind Komodo. So we will leave it at that. So check out the report when it comes out in the coming days, and we will notify everyone about it. And get involved in Komodo. So you can schedule a call with us. You can join Komodo Discord. You can get involved. Like we are clearing the pathway for everyone. And it doesn't matter who you are. There's always something to do. We will figure something out. So
tell everybody you know.
Check out Komodo. And what was that?
Tell everybody you know. If you're listening to this, you can hear this message, and so you're a node in this network, right? So pass the information on. If you don't have the time to participate, tell someone that does. Get somebody involved, share a tweet, just do whatever you can.
That's right. So we will leave it those wise words. And those who are watching live, you can jump to the Discord. We can take some questions here, but we are going to be in the stream here. So subscribe to the Komodo YouTube and follow us on Twitter, follow what VK is doing, and also subscribe to the newsletter if you want to get like a monthly recap of what's going on. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.